Hi guys. Welcome on joining the Very Real Estate meetup. We are July 7th, and we're gonna go over a fun evening. So I have something to confess. My official guest for the evening actually got held up with work. He in the end couldn't attend, so you adapt. And so what we're gonna do today is, I've actually been asked by some of you, like, yeah, what about you? Like, what do you do? And who are you? And what kind of assets do you have? And stuff like that. So today I'm gonna take about
If you're full, just leave it there, okay?
a solid half hour to go over kind of like how we got to 7 units in a couple of years with my wife. And then we'll do questions and conversation and all that. And then
Hold it
I'll
straight
introduce
so it doesn't fall.
next week's wonderful guest. I'm actually really excited for him to come. It's gonna be epic. So my name is Axel Monsaingeon. I used to work in the corporate world. I was actually born in the French Caribbean, and I moved to Canada for school, and then I never left. I arrived in 1999, I think on the 4th of September for the school year, and love it here. I finished high school, university, started working in the corporate world. It was fun, learned tons. I was in 5 years for a company where I actually met one of the fellow attendees here, Guillaume. We worked together in pulp and paper, had a wonderful company called Resolute Forest Products. We were in production planning. So we planned the production of the machines. Yay, Resolute. And then, so I was there for fun. Sorry, Amir, I really like your background noise, but not tonight. Um, so we, after 5 years over there, got promoted a few times, and then I got hired by one of our suppliers, and I ended up going for 1 year and really didn't like it over there. It was a rather small rail company called Canadian National. I lasted a year in procurement. And at the same time, well, earlier actually, my wife had acquired an apartment, and we had spent, while at Resolute, an entire summer just renovating, because she was renting by the room when she was living there. And then when we moved in together, we actually, she moved in with me, and we rented this one, and we thought, to rent it better, let's optimize it, let's redo the kitchen and the bathroom, and do a bit of work. So we literally spent an entire summer doing that. We didn't realize at the time that you can actually hire people to do this. Well, we knew, but I think we were very limited in our funds, and maybe um, going, the cheaper route. So we learned tons. And her father also loves projects like that. So we took some time to renovate the place, and then we rented it to a good family. The place is atop of the triplex. It was a rather large apartment, and my wife always said, I want to find expats whose kids go to Stanislas. It's one of the high schools in the neighborhood, and ideally, I'd like it to be paid for by the company. And I was like, babe, you're just dreaming. Like, come on. And then that's exactly what she got. It was a French couple coming from Bordeaux, working for a rather large company here doing avionics, electronics. And he was part of the relocation package, and she literally got a corporate check on the third of the month, every month. It still came through the mail at the time. It was about 5 years ago. We wish it would have been electronic, but so that was cash flowing decently. It was a couple of $100s per month, paying off everything, and the tenants were great. The Where it was a little bit more difficult was actually the copropriété, and that we could have like a whole just session hour talking about copropriété and syndicates and DVs and undVs and stuff like that. It was only 3 owners, so she was one of the 3, and it ended up being actually very difficult because you don't control them. One of them was absentee. She lived in London. She never came to the property, and she didn't realize what was going on. And then the other one lived on the ground floor, and she was rather very difficult to deal with. And that's a polite way to say she was crazy, at least in what we feel is crazy. Anyways, so we kept going, and we ended up moving in together. So we actually looked for a place. and a few tricks to find properties. Like, yes, we looked on the MLS and we worked with an agent and we tried to visit like 3 properties per Saturday and stuff like that. But we drove for dollars. Like, we just took the car, a map, and we said, "You like this neighborhood? Let's go drive in that neighborhood." And we literally like did street after street, block per block. Every time we see a listing, we look at it on Centris, if for sale sign by owner, we'd call, and we spent a lot of time in those neighborhoods doing that, and it was great. And we learned, we learned tons, and it was fun time in the car. And we didn't have kids at the time, so we're just happy to do all that. And we ended up finding a duplex that we quite liked. That was really kind of weird because it was across the street from a KFC, that chicken fried chicken nugget chain. And anyways, and we thought like, no way, we're not living there, not across the street. But we drove a few times, and then we thought, hey, let's go visit. And the way when we visited, it was actually really simple because we walked in. It's 2 units. It was a duplex, and we went and saw the ground floor, and we're like, this is great. We'll just break up everything and redo it all. And so that was kind of that. And the upstairs had kind of been renovated. It was a little bit more of lipstick, but the walls were more or less straight, and the floor wasn't, but whatever. The bathroom was clean. So anyways, we ended up buying it. So 30-year mortgage, the whole other package. And then
Was it a off market deal, or you went through
nope,
a,
it was listed. It was with an agent. And the funny thing, and because there's a whole bunch of little stories and tidbits about this one, but one thing that we've learned and that we will keep doing is that when we made our offer, it was accepted, but we weren't locked in yet. We could still back out for inspection and stuff like that. We went to the city, and we sat down at the urbanism office, and we said, we gave the address, and we pretended like we owned the place and just gave the address. And literally when we gave the guy the address, he just types it in the computer and he goes, "Oh yeah, it's across the street from the KFC, right? Oh yeah, the place has just been bought. It's going to be developed." And we were just like, looked at each other with my wife. We didn't say a thing. And it was like, oh my
wow.
God, yes. And the seller didn't know that. And so we asked the agent who was representing the seller, like, why do you think it's not selling? And she said 2 things. There's no parking, and it's across a KFC. So while we were at the city, we also asked, hey, there's like, a little bit of space in the back. Is it wide enough to do a parking spot, to do a carport? And the guy said, well, let me measure. I think it was like to 8 inches, we had enough space by 8 inches, or like not even a foot. It was tiny. So we're like, gold, we have parking, and the KFC is going away. So we bought the place, we renovated, we did about 100K of work, and we don't regret it, because every time we walk in, we still go, man, do we love this place. So then we're going to fast forward a little bit. Yeah. And then across the street, I thought, when that thing gets developed, okay, so by the time, we were working, both of us, full-time in good corporate jobs, no kids. We actually lived on fairly little, and we we saved. We had a fairly high savings rate. So yeah, I don't want to say we just ate, we didn't just eat rice and beans. It's not true, but like, because we'd have to be vegan to do that. So we eat meat too, but we saved a lot. And so we did the renovation, and then took us about a year. We had a contractor, and the contract with him was the gyps on the wall and the plywood on the floor, and we'll do everything else ourselves. Whoa, we learned. It was good. We saved some
Which
money.
area was it?
Sorry?
Which area was it? I mean, when
In
you first
Verdun.
started investing?
So that was in Verdun. That was to like 2014, and we just thought, the area is good, and it's close to the river, and it's not far from downtown. We both work downtown. We didn't foresee completely how much Verdun as a neighborhood was going to pop. So we're actually quite happy with it. And then so the development across the street, it was happening, but it wasn't really happening. And at some point we saw the land for sale. So we called, like, how much do you want? And, and not like we could afford it, and you say, well, I don't know if I'm going to develop, I'm trying to sell it, and blah, blah, blah. So a year went by, 2 years went by. We still had the crazy KFC. But anyways, one day there's a big sign that pop up, project to come. I literally called that day and started talking to them. And I had always said, it'd be like, how good would it be if we actually had a unit in there? Because it'd be the easiest thing to manage. It's across the street. Like we don't have to go across town and do all that. So that's actually what we did. And I actually remember fairly well because we were about to go on vacation, and I think it was on the way to the airport. We just drove by the real estate agent office to go sign the last paper, and we did a $5,000 check for lock-in fee, escrow or whatever, and then it got built over the next year, and so that's a unit that's across the street, and the plan has always been like, go rent it. It's been appreciating in value, and I'm not from here, and I have family coming over, and I had always said, if family wants to come, they can go in there. I didn't realize at the time how unrealistic this was, because when my sister comes for 2 weeks, I can't tell my tenant to leave. So I have to plan in advance, and then, so you sometimes lose a bit of rental and stuff like that, but it's okay. And then we thought, okay, and another trick, right away when we signed, I asked to see the co-ownership rules. And because now it's a fairly recent building, it's 2018, they had specifically said no Airbnb. And the wording was terrible. My wife's a lawyer, and so I always, I was like, what do you think of this? Like, could we find a loophole? And it said in the paragraph, no short-term rentals no short-term rentals like Airbnb or rental to tourists, something like that, something kind of vague. And I said, I'll do short-term rental. I just rent to professionals. They're not tourists, whatever. And so I did. And so we established, it's a 6 unit. So it's 2 times 6. It's one building. There's a fireproof wall in the middle, and it's administered as 2 syndicates. And the rule is that to not fall under hospitality, you have to do rentals for a minimum of 32 days. So I said, that's fine. 32 days is fair. It's not that much. And so now that place has been renting quite good. And my dream is going to come true, because next summer, it was supposed to be this summer. We have a 10-month-old daughter. My stepmother still hasn't seen her. And my parents were supposed to come this summer for 3 months, but, COVID happened, and so they'll come next summer. So I'm already planning for them to be here and not renting the place, so they can be in the best guest room ever for everyone. So like we can ship off the kids. Anyways, back to real estate. So moving along, we started thinking, okay, now let's put as many units under one roof. Because when you do a purchase, and those of you who've done a few, like whether you're buying a condo or a triplex, it takes the same amount of work for the transaction, more or less. So we're like, so let's go buy like a bigger one. Let's go. And so we're limited with funds. We got in with a partner, and we found, and this one I'm going to spend more time on it because it's been a good example of optimization, and I'll share all the numbers and stuff like that. And if you want more, contact me later, and we'll go over it, because that's what has kind of blown up my mind in terms of, like, I wouldn't say nothing's easy. It's actually hard, but it's amazing how much value you can create. So I'm going to take my notes that I prepared, which are right here. Sorry about that. So we bought the place. So I've been working with an agent. His name is Nick. He's great. And my wife, she's got a good smell for real estate. She was like, I really like Lachine. We've been looking at Lachine for a while. And she said, you should look at Ville Saint-Pierre, because actually her dad has spent quite a bit of time. He's been working there for decades. And she always said, like, the neighborhood is changing. You should really give it a look. And so I did what I do at night when I can't sleep, which is most nights, is that I'll go on Centris, I'll go on Kijiji, I'll go look at everything I can find. And I spend like, I'd say hundreds of hours on Centris, and I kept looking and I kept looking, and I found a few, and I asked the agent Nick to send me, like, I selected 4 or 5 listings, and he sent them to me, but he said, hey, you didn't ask me about this one. And he sent me, I had asked him for 3-plex, 4-plex, and he sent me one that was a 5-plex, but it was almost priced like a 4-plex, like the other ones. They were asking $515 for 5 units, and you had to have an accepted offer to visit. And I'm fine with that. I mean, you can walk away because you don't like the kitchen counter color. Like, making an offer doesn't cost anything. It doesn't bind you to anything until a certain point. And so we made an offer and we finished at 500. We still haven't seen the place. I just drove by a few times. I looked from the alley and stuff like that. And when we went to visit, to my great surprise, so the split was, so out of 5 units, there was 2 2-bedrooms and 3 1-bedrooms. And then on the ground floor unit, on the semi-basement unit, which was one of the 3.5s, there was 2 windows and a huge technical room. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much more space. Like, you could do a really nice apartment in here. And then in the back, it's because basically it's on a normal lot, so street to ruelle, and it's a triplex and then a small courtyard and then a duplex in the back, at the back of the property line. And in the duplex building, there's also a semi-basement. Like, the whole surface was just like a storage space. And I was like, just pop a staircase and then add a huge bedroom. So then you turn another 3.5 into a 4.5. And so that's what we did. And so to go back into the numbers a little bit, so we have then an offer at 500 on the dot, $500,000. And so it's my wife and I and a partner, and we're going, so my wife and I are 25% each, and that partner is the other 50%. And I didn't know at the time that if you find the deal, you kind of negotiate better. And I was just so excited to do a deal that I just gave her an amazing deal, literally, because all she had to do was put half the down payment. She got half the equity. And anyways, lesson learned. But the thing is that, so after inspection, so we did an inspection, and we did also, and that's a trick I would highly recommend. It only costs $300 or $400, but it can save you thousands, is to call a plumber. When you do your inspection, you call a plumber and you ask him to do a visual inspection of like the main conduite d'évacuation, the main drainage for the building. In this case, it was pretty clean. It literally looks like you're shoving a camera in someone's gut. It's disgusting, but this one was clean, because I've seen other ones that were not clean and branches and it's broken, and you buy the place, you might be on the hook for 5 to 10 or if not more, because you have to excavate 6 feet deep and you have to change the pipe to the sewer and stuff like that. So that was a $300 expense. We did the inspection, and then there was a whole bunch of stuff in there that the semi-basements were full of crap, literally, like old hot water tanks and just garbage. And so I like to present option to people, because we're lazy. We're all inherently lazy. And what we did is that I presented in the counter offer after the inspection, I presented him with 3 scenarios and said, one scenario, we're at 500. And I said, one scenario, I don't want any of your garbage. I'll give you 475 and you leave as is. No work for you. And then I think we did 485 and you clear one of the semi-basements, and you do this small fix that you have that, and there's 2 hot water tanks that were overdue. And then what was the third option? Basically, you clean it all up, you do all the reparation, and then I'll give you full price minus, I think, 5,000, because there was a bit of a small thing somewhere. And so the guy didn't want to have it. We negotiated, and it was just a tactic. I knew I was happy at 500. I knew I was going to make money with it. So we ended up closing at 488. And I was like, hey, that's 12 grand less. Good. Let's go with that. This is where it gets funny, like Murphy's Law, crap happens. So we're all excited. The partner who was signing with us, she was actually going out of the country. She was going to Brazil. She was not going to be here for the signing. So we had to do a power of attorney and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. In the end, we ended up moving the closing date. The seller agreed, but we delayed by 1 week so she could be back. And we go and sign on Wednesday, May 8th, 2019. We're all happy. We're there. We leave with the keys. Ecstatic. And we say, with the owner, I'm like, I'd love it if we could do, like, as a best practice, if we could go and meet the current tenants together and just give the letter and say that I'm the new owner, and you pass the stick to the next guy, right? It's like, you don't have to do this, and But I convinced him. I said, let's go. Let's do it. Okay, fine. We set the appointment for Friday, 5 p.m. Okay, so we're Wednesday. We set it for Friday. And Friday, I'm all happy. I got the keys. And by the way, the ground floor unit, while we were buying, she said she was leaving. And so the owner felt bad. And I was like, oh, dude, better like this. No problem. Let her leave. Don't worry about it. So I have one empty unit and I'm all excited. We just bought the property. So of course I go there earlier and I go around 3 o'clock and I go in the apartment and then I go and visit this huge technical room and I turn my head and I see about an inch of water on the floor. And I'm like, what's your language? I'm like, oh, shoot. So it's seeping in from the wall under les solives, where the les solives are resting into the concrete. And it's like, there's water coming down. I mean, it's not a water fountain, but to have an inch of water, you accumulate a certain amount. Not on the whole surface, of course. It's a concrete, basement, so it's not all in. So anyway, there's a big puddle, and I'm like, oh my god. So I call the agent. I'm like, I don't have the documents with me. Can you look at the seller's declaration? Did he declare water leaks or infiltrations? No. I'm like, liar. Anyways, and so the guy comes at 5 o'clock, and I just thought, I'm not going to start the conversation with this because I actually want to do the transition with the tenants. So we went to all the tenants, those who were there. We give the letter, thank you, goodbye. We shake hands. We shake hands. And at the end, I'm like, hey, I just like to show you something. Can we go in the unit? Like, yeah, sure. So I take him in and I'm like, what is this water? Like, there's water infiltration. You didn't disclose this. And he's like, I didn't know. And me, I took my phone in my hand and I actually recorded the conversation without letting him know, which I'm not sure is totally legal, but I didn't care. And so I'm like, man, come on, there's water infiltration. He had hinted a few times that there is some work that needs to be done, and I knew that, but like, you have to disclose this legally. That's wrong. So anyways, and that's a whole other chapter after. So I went around the tenants, and then I started to do what I had to do, and I went through the rent roll, and one of them, he was paying $500 a month for 3.5. There'd been a ruling against him, but the previous owner had never actually enforced it. So the guy had missed rent, but there was a payment plan. He didn't really pay, blah, 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 blah. So I went to see him, and I'm like, look, we both know the situation. How do you want to go about it? And he basically said, look, I'll stay maybe 1 or 2 more months and then I'll go. So he left for end of June, and he didn't pay me the last month of rent. And, I tried to apply pressure at this point, just pack your stuff and get out. And the deal was that he was supposed to leave the place empty, which he called empty. And I still had to get a dumpster with boxes and furniture and old food. And I'll pass you the details. So now I'm 2 units empty. And then the guy upstairs in the duplex, he seemed to be rather challenged with some stuff in life. And every time I went to see him, I'm not joking, okay, this is for real. Every time I'd go, so he was from the Middle East, and every time I went, within the first minutes of the conversation, he would say, the Secret Service are after me. I'm not safe in this country, and this and that. And so I didn't want to get into it. I'm not going to ask. I'm an immigrant here too. I mean, look, but he hinted that he kind of wanted to go. And so he called me and said, is it okay if I go? And, I pretended like it really bothered me, but I was like, I'll make an exception. You're supposed to give me notice, but in your case, you can go whenever you want. And so he left in August. So then I had 3 units empty. So then we renovated. It took way too long because we have to apply for building permits, and then you have to go to the city, and just to apply for a permit, you need an architect plans, and then you need an architect. So long story short. So I'm all excited. I have my whole file. I go to the Lachine City Hall, and I go to the urbanism, and I wait in line, and I give my file, and Johnny's probably going to laugh. And I give it to them, and I'm like, yay, so can I have my permit? And the lady looks at me and says, I don't know, we'll call you back in maybe 6 weeks or something. I'm like, 6 weeks? I'm ready to go. I'd started demolition by then. And so that's in August-ish. So I waited my 6 week. I had my contractor lined up. I got three quotes. I ended up going with a guy that I knew, a guy I was in school with. So I trusted him. Anyway, so we budgeted, with the contractor, we were doing 45K of reno. We ended up doing more like 55. And then in the whole thing, including the 10K in brick that we just did to finish that water infiltration that I discovered 2 days after we closed, which was done literally about 2 or 3 weeks ago, we've spent, I think, 105,000. So at this point, we're all in for $100,000 deposit and then 105,000. So we're at 205. I made a terrible mistake is that I locked in in a 5-year term with RBC. It's not about the bank. It's just I should have known if you refinance, you're going to get penalties. And Johnny's probably laughing too because he's done a bunch of refis. And at that point, I hadn't. So I was like, it's okay. We'll just refinance and stuff like that. So this week, actually, I asked RBC I gave him all the information. I was like, I want to refinance. What would you give me? And they gave me an appraisal that was like ridiculously low. So I just disregarded it. And I said, look, I'm going to go with someone else. And I was like, I want to know what the penalties are going to be. So I received this week, get ready, $9,640 to break my mortgage. I should have known. I've learned my lesson. I will never do a 5-year term on a building I'm optimizing. Never again. Do a 1-year term or a 2-year term. Anyways, mistakes along the way. So basically, when we bought the building, 5 units, it was earning us $32,000 a year. And after a year of work, we are now, and having optimized 3 units, we are making $52,000 a year. So we've had a significant increase in revenue, therefore increasing the value of the building. And so what we bought for $488 last year was evaluated around $790 recently. So I'm quite happy with it. So we are going to refinance, and we're going to go SCHL, CMHC, Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation. They insure they do mortgages, they insure mortgages, and on the commercial, they're quite aggressive, and they'll finance 85% of your building, whereas traditional banks will do 20, 25, 30, 35, depending on the type of property, the revenue, and the state, the location, a whole bunch of factors. So they're going to refinance us for about $670,000, and knowing that we have a balance of about $370,000, we're going to be able to take out roughly $300K if all goes well. Yes. And then, minus there's other costs, but basically we're going to get all of our money back and more. And we did that in 14 months. So that's what really opened my eyes to you should be doing this like twice a year, every year. And then we won't need to do anything. So that's where we're at, and we're looking for more. We're looking for more buildings, but the power of real estate is amazing because there's leverage. There's leverage, and I used to think I'm going to save, I'm going to put it in my RSP, and then you can't boost your RSP with lending, at least not conventionally. So that's really what's given my wife and I a big kick in the butt. And the deal now is that she works more or less full time right now, 2-3 days a week because COVID adjustments. And then I've been going real estate full time, and my mission is to find more properties, and I will find some. My goal is to buy 16 units this year, and we're mid-year, so I better get my act together. And at the same time, I don't want to rush into a deal just because I said I would buy 16 units. So I'm looking for, I'm looking for a partner because I can't afford it by myself. And we want to also would like to maybe try some flips because there's money to be made in the short term on flips. And I can go on for hours, but I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask all your questions and make comments because I know we have some fairly experienced fellows here, like Johnny, like Dan, and so on. And I'd love to hear from you. So comments, questions, anything, shoot. You have to unmute yourself so I don't talk alone. And then, yeah.
What was your first experience having a partner?
What in what sense is the question? Like in terms of like managing it, or in terms of
Yeah, like I mean, like even real estate, right? I mean, in order to have a partner, first you need to know the person like in detail, right? And then it's just not about the money, right?
about the partner?
Like now, how do you evaluate? Yeah, for a partner
So
venture, yeah,
find a
partner deal.
partner is tough because you kind of, and different people have different experiences. You have to make sure that you are aligned on your objectives, your goal. What are we trying to achieve together and why? Because if one partner wants to sell and the other partner wants to keep, you know, you have to sort out all those situations. And when you enter in a partnership, you have to iron out every possible plan. I hate to say this, okay? It's like a prenup. You only do a prenup. You don't get married thinking you're going to get divorced, but you do a prenup in case you do. And that's kind of the same thing. Just because if 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 it doesn't go well, what are we going to do? And that's why we do contracts. Like otherwise, we just do a handshake deal, and the world would be a different place. So in finding a partner, like making sure your objectives are aligned, your values are in common, and ideally that your skill set is different, because you don't want to mirror yourself. You want someone who's good at what you're not good at, because then you do a good team, because a partnership is a team, literally. So I'm not sure if that answers your
Yeah,
question.
yeah, it does for sure.
And one last thing is that I would enter into a partnership with someone I recently met. Is that I find it's kind of like dating. Like you kind of, no, it's kind of like marriage. You kind of need to date first, and then you see how it goes, and then you kind
Right.
of like run through properties and like, do we like it? Do we not like it? Like you go for dinner and drinks, and you get the picture, because you know when you buy a place like that and you're willing to sign for, let's say, 500,000 together, and both of your names are on the mortgage, like, it's serious.
Yeah, I mean that's my other question too. I mean, so in terms of partnerships, so both the names would be under the mortgage, correct? Or is it be just one person's mortgage and the other person will be a silent partner, something
Okay,
like that? Or
very good question. So at the time we didn't know any better, and so we bought the three of us together, and the three of us were on the mortgage, which is a bit of a mistake because it complicates things. Number one, anything you want to do, everyone needs to be involved. Like refinance, now everyone needs to resubmit all their documents. What a terrible idea. And then second thing is, we discovered that later, if you are trying to repossess a unit, so right now we optimize 3 out of the 5 units. So there's 2 that still have tenants that we inherited. Okay, they're paying half of the rent they should if it was aligned to the market. And so should we want to repossess, you can only do it if it's a single owner or at most a couple. And if it's a couple, it needs to be to house basically one of the 2 partners. If it's 3, you basically can't, because it's kind of considered it's considered an investment property, and you're not going to go live there, and it's pretty much impossible to repossess with when you have 3 owners. We didn't know that at the time, and hindsight 2020. Now maybe we would have said, how about 1 or 2 of us are on title, and then we'll do a contract amongst us, and it doesn't change anything to share ownership and all that. Is just that we make it more simple, and we actually get more flexibility, and we're more agile if there's less people involved. Yeah, but and I'll bring a caveat to that. Let's say in your case, like it's you and you want to buy a duplex with a friend, and it's your first deal. I would recommend both of you on everything, because you don't really know what's going to happen. So you at least want to, I was going to say, secure your half, but that means that you secure your half, but you're also responsible for half of the other responsibilities, financial or whatever else it may be. So if it's your first one, you're doing it with a partner, I would recommend be on everything, and just later as you grow, maybe you can find another arrangement. What do you think, Johnny, about that? Or not? Or yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
sorry. You're gonna have to run that one by me again. I'm kind of multitasking here. That's why
Okay.
I'm not live video.
No problem. If you're buying a first duplex and you're doing a partnership, would you do both partners are on title and on the mortgage, or would you do an agreement where one of them owns everything, but there's a side agreement for that splits it?
Um, a duplex, triplex kind of size, under 5.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. For anybody that doesn't know, I just, because I see some familiar names here, but I just finished flipping a duplex. We closed this past April, and on the cash in, we made about 60% profit, which on a flip, to be honest, is not great. But considering the project itself was fantastic.
Pretty good.
But we went 50-50 ownership and mortgage on that. And the reason we did that was, one, we were testing out our partnership. We're seeing how we work together, the pros and cons, what each brings to the table, et cetera. Now, long story short, the reason why we did that, we were 50-50 on everything, was because we actually didn't do it in a company, in a corporation, in a registered company. It was just an extra expense for such a small project that it wasn't worth the effort. And so even the bank account was actually 50-50. We were both on the actual joint. We created a joint bank account as well.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of upfront trust. Why? Because when you have two names on a bank account, as an example, or two names on a mortgage, well, you're technically both able to withdraw money whenever you want and as much as you want without, with just e-transfers, without any co-signature. And two, if one doesn't cough up on the mortgage, if you're short, well, the other one coughs up that other portion. So it took actually a lot of trust, and you know what? It actually worked out really well. In terms of the skill sets that we both brought. And like I said, it was a profitable thing. Now on a larger project, I think for, my next project is going to be in a company. But my next project is going to be, more than likely larger than an 8 or 12 door, if not larger. And that's going to have to be in a company at that point, because it's going to need some passive investors, et cetera, in there. So I need to make things very, very secure for everybody, myself included, but also the investors. So that's my long story on that one.
No, and it makes sense. Like at the beginning, when it's, I was going to say small and personal, you handle it one way, and as you grow, you formalize it and change a little bit of the partnership structure.
Now who asked that question, Bava?
Yeah.
Bava,
Yes,
I remember you were talking about buying a duplex or a triplex or even a fourplex at one point, I think almost a month ago.
right.
How's that going?
No, I actually changed my strategy. Now I'm looking for a single family home.
Oh, you're going in with Lisa.
Yes, correct.
Right,
Yeah.
I remember now. Okay, yeah. So single family home. I mean, are you going to have a sorry for the personal question. It's rhetorical. You don't have to answer, but like, are you going to go with a partner that, like, your girlfriend or wife or whatever, or a brother, or like a random somebody to put in the money kind of thing? So that's
No. It's not a partnership. My question was for the next project that I wanted to after this, right? So this one is purely mine. This is my second project. So this is just me. It's just myself, right? So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's just you, you're not doing a partnership, though.
Right now, I'm not. No.
Okay.
Like I wanted to get more information before I get into it, because it's a lot of information, right? I mean, so.
Yeah. Okay. And the thing is, sorry, and I'm going to repeat myself, but I feel like I've said that so many times, and including to Guillaume, who I'm very proud he bought his first condo this year, is that the first deal is scary. And the first deal, the good thing is that it doesn't make you rich. It doesn't make you broke. It just makes you learn, and hopefully it makes you addicted. But it's really scary, and you have to make an offer, and then it has to be accepted, and you have to do financing and all that. Oh my God. But it's not that complicated. And once you've done your first transaction, you're like, oh, okay. And now I just need to get it rented. I need to put someone in the box, and then they'll pay me to use the box, and then I'll go get another box. I mean, I'm simplifying, but it's not that complicated. But what's important is that you have to take action, because we've all met people who are like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And you talk to them 2 years later and like, yeah, I'm still looking. Maybe I'm going to do this. And it's like, it's been 2 years, man. Buy something. Even if you make a mistake, you're going to learn. Sorry.
Yeah, totally. No, I'm totally with you because it's been only a year for me myself, and this is my second that I'm doing. The first one was pretty much like that. I was, looking for condos, and I tried to change everything, and then I ended up buying a place in Brossard, and I think that was one of a good buy, I would say, and that made me addicted, right? That's why I'm looking for single-family homes now, and that's only purely investment, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. And that's good because it's a good place to start. A single family home, a condo, just like a 1 unit or a duplex, because you don't operate it the same way as a larger multifamily, of course, but all the principles are the same. And then you get your feet wet with managing it, with finding a tenant, selecting a tenant. I was gonna say operating the tenant and all that, and then you just replicate, and then it pushes you to build systems and all that. So it's a great way to start.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. And especially now the market is, pretty crazy. It is during, even during the COVID, but I literally had, I would say, I put 10 offers in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And everything was overpriced. Everything got, I was rejected for all of them, and everything was 30, 40K over the asking price.
Yeah.
So 30 or 40 and more than 50. So,
Bava,
and it's not even Montreal, it's Chateauguay.
Yeah.
It.
So Bava, is that your 10 offers were for single family homes?
Yes. Yeah.
Through Lisa?
Yep.
And they all got rejected?
They all, like, it was pretty much 40 or 50K over the asking price, which was a big shock for people in Chateauguay as well, even for Lisa. So.
When your offer was below asking price and it was rejected, right?
No, even I did the max I did over the asking price.
You actually put in offers above the asking price and it was still rejected.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes,
that's
I
incredible.
Know.
So this is what I did when I first got started. I bought a duplex, considered a duplex plus. Long story, you can look it up. But essentially, I moved in with my wife. We said we were tired of paying rent in our apartment, and instead put that monthly rent towards a mortgage instead, and had our tenants pay it. The rest of that mortgage on a duplex plus, basically a triplex. And that's, to me, like, as starting out, I think was the best decision. I made some mistakes along the way, but for sure, to me, buying a duplex or a triplex or even a fourplex and living in it, man, that is just incredible. That's great. To really get started. Single family homes. I mean, I know Lisa's had a lot of success in that, but you got to consider when a lot of people, especially in the States and Ontario, is big to buy single family homes, renovate them a little bit, and then rent them out. That's fantastic when the market is undervalued. Like back in 2018, 2010, even 2012 a little bit, as things are now moving back up to their normal price. But today, especially the greater Montreal area, Chateauguay is included in that greater Montreal area.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Forget about single family homes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I spoke to her. I don't know if you know this, but even her, I mean, she's starting a new career now, so she's kind of like sitting on her laurels and not really investing in anything because she's starting a career in real estate as an agent.
Right.
But I don't know, man, single family homes, you have to go out to Hudson. You have to go out to Il Perrot. You have to go even further, like as far Vaudreuil as you can.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't, I don't know, man. Those are the areas I would look at.
Okay. No, I'm right now. I'm looking at St. Cat.
Oh, we lost him. No.
Just to start with, because obviously I learned a lesson from this, right? Which I would not want to make again. So So yeah, I did mention about you to her. I mean, so you contacted her, right? Or
Lisa?
yeah.
Nope. I've never heard of her.
No, I mean Johnny.
Yeah,
Oh.
I met her.
Oh.
I can't say I met her. I found her on a real estate forum. She was asking a particular question that I found interesting, and I followed up with her on that. And that's basically what we talked about is that question and what she's up to now, because someone had mentioned she started as an agent.
Yeah, I think it was what's the other person name? I can't remember. Daniel. I think it's Daniel. Yeah, who mentioned about me. So yeah.
Okay, actually, very good segue. Thank you very much. Hey, Daniel, are you present? Are you listening?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. Do you want to take a few minutes to introduce tomorrow? Okay, because Dan has a very good meetup once a month. It's called I think the Real Estate Mastermind Montreal or something like that.
Yes.
And tomorrow you're going to have a guest who's going to be presenting a project. Do you want to give 2 minutes about it?
Yeah. Tomorrow, Mederic is gonna come by. I just spoke to him today. Mederic is special because it's one of the few people you'll meet in Montreal who's actually investing in commercial real estate, and he buys office buildings with a passive partner. And during COVID, it just closed on the 1.5 million property that he got 500,000 below like market value, and he's gonna come by to present this project.
Super. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, when you hear the numbers, like your eyes are gonna roll back in their sockets because the numbers are pretty crazy.
Oh, I'm sure.
And the story is pretty crazy, but he's very interesting guy. He's like 24 years old, and he's already buying like commercial properties with passive partners. So, all of you should come. It's gonna be pretty interesting.
Super. I'll definitely be there. That sounds like someone we can learn from.
Yeah, I was pretty excited because when you're in Montreal, like most of the people talk about investing in multifamily,
Mm-hmm.
which is normal because I think it's the best investment on the planet. But it's nice to hear that there's other people in Quebec who do different strategies, and like not just apartments.
Correct. Yeah.
Like,
And it's complementary, and I'm glad there's. I haven't invested in commercial, but I'm glad there are guys who do, because it feeds another part of the market that we all absolutely need. So yeah, and he must be happy because then he gets less competition. Everyone's in residential.
yeah, he told me like when you do an offer, you can take like weeks and negotiate and go slowly about things, and it's not like in Montreal when you do like an offer, there's like 10 offers that follows, and it's a different game.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn something about commercial real estate, you should come.
Definitely. That sounds good. We'll be there. Okay, and then I just want to kind of go around the room, and then Selva, we spoke a little bit at the beginning. You're looking for properties. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just want to know, like, since you're holding like multiple properties, do you have a management company which kind of takes care of it, or do you do everything on your own?
Okay.
Yeah.
No. Okay. I'm not paid to say this. I wish I was. I found through Bigger Pockets an amazing little software. It's free. It's online. I keep raving about it. It's called Stessa.com, and Stessa is actually assets with plural spelled backwards .com. It's free. You go over there. You kind of create yourself a portfolio. So you create a portfolio. You add an address, and you can do all of your accounting. You can store all of your documents. It's almost a full-on management, property management software for free. Okay. And then it just made it so much easier, because I was doing Excel spreadsheets and per property and blah, blah, blah. But then at the end of the year, when tax seasons come, so I've been using Stessa, and then so far have been doing it all on my own. And it's just that I've systemized. So whenever we have a new unit, we take really good pictures, and this is the set of pictures that we will always use to rent it. And then we do one description, we save it properly. So you don't have to rewrite all your stupid ads every time, and like to really systemize, because you gain so much time and efficiency. And just as a comparative, there's a fantastic software. There's plenty that do this, but there's one that I was looking at and that I was considering called Belgium. They're actually based in Boston. It's used by a lot of companies that have a lot of units, but I think it came to like $120 a month, which you're like, well, come on, it's not that much. Yeah, but that's $1,500 a year. That, you know, and so I'm not saying don't, and I've always said, like, I feel like once we reach like maybe 15, 20 units, we'll have to maybe upgrade. But for now, Stessa, it does the trick. And even today, I spent another 2 hours doing some accountings and doing receipts, like, you know, making sure kind of closing the month of June, and then doing July. So, and then if you want to jump in, Johnny, and then another small trick is that in my phone, whenever I've saved a contact, I've spoken to a plumber, save the guy, and I always label him as like what he actually does. So name, last name, and then plumber, real estate, and then dash plumber, electrician, and stuff. So then it's easier to centralize your contacts. I mean, it's just your phone. Yeah.
Sorry, I had a question about Stessa. Stessa, I looked into it at one point, but it's only for American properties and addresses, I think.
No, you'll find. No,
I can't.
I put my address here, and it automatically got me the picture of all of my properties.
Stessa.com allowed Canadian, because I tried it in the past and it wouldn't recognize my address.
The only thing that you cannot do, and I've contacted them and be like, when are you guys going to do it, is that you cannot sync your bank accounts for transactions. So but I'm okay with it. I put some music and I do it. I still take a picture, and then I send the picture to the phone, to the computer, and then I import it, and then I save the receipts with the transaction, and that's it. Because otherwise you can actually link your bank account, and then it just shoots out all the transactions, and then you just label them at what they are. And so today I did, like, you know, I had a bunch of Home Depot receipts and stuff, and you go like Home Depot, and then you attach it to a particular unit and for a particular job if you want, and then it does all of your accounting. And when we did taxes this year, it actually took us maybe like, on the real estate part, maybe took us just like 2 hours or something. Like, it was really short. And then you can export in Excel, you can export in CSV or CVS, you can, anyways, I think it's very flexible, and I love the fact that it's free. And then it gives you a beautiful dashboard of how much vacancy you have, how much you've gained on your properties and stuff like that. So I just find it's a good tool.
Do you know the Quebec alternative?
So I've done a fair amount of research. There is one based in Sherbrooke. I don't remember the name.
Bloc Solution, is that it?
Bloc.solution is an online system to allow you to electronically sign leases. But that's all they do. I don't think they do.
They have like a CRM also.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. Okay, so that's not the one that I looked at. The one I looked at was based in Sherbrooke, and it had more features than Stessa, but it was not as good of a user experience. Yeah. But you could also do all of your communication with the tenants, and you could automate the mail, which, you know, I'm not there yet. Like 7 units, I still write addresses. I don't care. Actually, I don't really send mail, but it's easy to manage. If you have like 200 units, then it's much easier to do kind of mail merge. You know, you type your letter, and then here you put, you know, where what is going to go what, and it just does it all for you. And also you can communicate with your suppliers, I believe. But realistically, like, if I need a plumber, I'm not going to email the plumber. I'm going to call him because I need him either right now or next week is okay. So I just find that feature a bit for now. But Belgium does it. And because Belgium also has a tenant portal, which is like where I'd like to go in the future. Because not that I get that many phone calls, but I'd love to just give my tenants an app or a website and be like, if your toilet leaks, don't call me. You go and you you file a maintenance request in there. And also,
that's a good point. Like, what a guy does in this, you know, you listen to Bigger Pockets podcast a lot, right? Yeah. Listen to what the guy does is he has like an email address. It could be like info@Axel whatever, and just forwards that email to a virtual assistant. And she handles the request and just like send it to a plumber or to her.
And another trick, and I've looked into it, but I was like, maybe I'll do it later because it's on a subscription basis, is to get a different phone number, because I've been giving my personal phone number to absolutely everyone for everything. And at some point, I'm like, if this is a business, I got to treat it like a business. And I don't necessarily want all of my tenants to have my personal phone number. And so it's to get an online one. You go online, you register, it costs you like $10 a month or $20 a month. And it's like, oh, hi, you've reached Excel Real Estate. For maintenance, press 1. Accounting, press 2. You can do all those trees. And then in the end, maybe it's only you answering all of the lines. But the point is that it gives a good voicemail. It gives all the services with it. And then you can also dispatch the phone. So I could say, if they press 2 for accounting, it'll go to my wife instead of me. Not that she'd want that, but you know what I mean? So it's a way also to like dissociate the business so that it's not just you, because my goal in the end is that this business runs without me, or like by working 2 hours a week. And I can't do that if I give my phone number and my email to everyone. So at some point you gotta distance it.
And I think like when you mix the two, you don't want to like get trapped, because if a tenant's call you, he has a problem, you kind of have to answer, right?
Yes, but at the same
It's
time,
like, yeah, let's say you're on a weekend with your wife and you just want to relax.
exactly.
That's annoying.
And a lot of stuff, it can wait for Monday. We're not saving lives here. Even a leaky toilet, you know what? You close the valve and, okay, maybe a toilet's a bad example. But like most of other things, it can still wait for Monday. Like,
Even if there's a fire, you can call like 911.
well, no, yeah, no, fire, I'll go. I'll go at any time, anywhere, call me. That's fine. But just, yeah. And so it's also getting into the mindset of like this, I have to run it like a business. And so and you scale, and I bet we've all had this issue of like, as you scale, like at what point do you start to delegate? At what point do you say, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to give it to someone that I can pay $12 an hour who can probably do it better than me. Like, so, and I know my next step is to find a virtual assistant. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect.
Oh, love real estate. Okay. I'd just like to take, no, first of all, are there any more questions?
I have one.
Yes.
You know, when you said you renovated your 5-plex, you emptied all the units.
No, I ended up emptying 3 out of the 5.
Right. You see, maybe when you go into a bigger properties, would you think it's better to like renovate one at a time and turn it over so you still have some cash flow to pay your debt, or just like empty the most as possible and just renovate it?
Hindsight, with what I know now, I just find it's easier to do it all at once. And if you lose cash flow for a couple of months, you lose cash flow for a couple of months. You have to budget it, or maybe to do like half or like by thirds. But it exactly depends on how many units you have. It depends on how many units you want to renovate and stuff like that. But I find just doing it a blitz all at once is just much easier. And also because you get economies of scale when your contractor is there and you say, okay, you're not going to come 6 times to do 1 bathroom. You're going to do 6 bathrooms in one shot. And I just find it's easier.
Right.
And another trick is that I will never get as involved as I got into this one. I will take my contractor and I won't say I will do turnkey, but I ended up doing flooring. I ended up, I spent almost entire days with a grinder cutting old pipes because we needed to clean up the place. And it was good. And, after a corporate job where I just felt like I was working for monkeys, that I felt like a monkey and is working for other monkeys, I was like, hey, you know what? I'm my own boss and I just have a grinder and a toolbox. It's just, now I just feel like as growing, like, I just don't want to spend my time doing that anymore. And a contractor does it better than me. And I thought it was cheap. I thought it was saving money, but I didn't, because it took me twice the amount of time and I never counted my time. So I will never get and when I say involved, I mean like hands-on involved. I don't mean, of course I'm going to be involved and manage it. I'm just not going to do the work myself. And sorry, I'll have to stop after that. To all those who think like, oh, it's okay, we're going to buy the building and the first 3 months we're going to like renovate it. Okay, get back to earth. Like, just getting the tenants out can take you a year. So then doing the renovation, you need, depending on what kind of work, like if you're going to do anything structural, or technically if you touch the plumbing and the electricity, you need a permit. Getting a permit can take a month, 2 months, depends on which borough you're in. So it's not that quick and easy.
Yeah, and I talked to an investor in the Plateau Mont Royal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he did a 14 plex optimization. He told me he paid up to 20K to get a tenant out.
Oh yeah,
Like some people just don't want to leave. You
Yeah.
have to pay $20,000.
yeah. You have to buy them out. That's
Yeah, like
literally
if you
what it
don't
takes.
budget for that, you can like kill your budget basically.
Oh, you just you just can't do your whole project. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, 20K in some units, 20K is already like a nice renovation.
Yeah, that's
So-
your reno.
So that's your reno budget. So instead of renovating, oh no, you only remove the tenants. Like that's no. So you really have to budget it. And you know, I mean, we've heard some of the rules like roughly like count 7 times. Some big investor in Montreal, I heard him say, budget on average 7 months of rent. Some is more, some is less, but
Get
7
out the
times.
tenant.
I mean, that's quite a bit, huh?
7 months to get out the tenant.
Yeah, per unit.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and some is going to be a year, like 20K. I mean, I don't know where he was on the plateau and what the unit was like, but 20K is, I mean, on the plateau, 20 divided by 12. What is that? That's like
Yeah. The thing is, like,
that's a big rent.
you know, in Quebec, like we talked about that. I think my last meetup, somebody said the word like professional tenant.
Yes, professional tenant. Oh yeah.
That clicked for like some people they because Quebec, if you don't know, people here like the laws are ridiculous for tenants, and some people like they know the law like a lawyer and like, they know the tenant's rights, and you cannot get a tenant out in Quebec. Technically, it's legal.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult.
Like they have the right to stay technically. It's not like in the States. So if they want to stay, you have to make a deal with them.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's an all other topic.
Yeah. No, tenant, and you know what? It's a very good point. One day we could do a tenant management 101.
Like tenant negotiation, yeah.
Negotiation or just, yeah. But look, we had said for roughly an hour today. So today was a bit of a, you know, and it's my responsibility. I had planned for someone and finally he couldn't make it. And then I asked someone else and he couldn't make it either. And so, and some people had asked like, tell us your story. So that's what we did. But I've already secured for next time. So it's July 21st. This guy, I'm so excited because this guy is big. And so his name is Ali Farsa. He's the president of You Live, like Montreal at the airport, live LIV. So YULVIV.ca. They have about 300 doors, 50 properties, and we went because we saw a sign and we looked in the company, and my wife is like, "Oh, I was in school with him. I'll give him a call." I was like, "Okay, great." So we actually went to visit him in their beautiful offices, and the guy's young. He's about my age. He's about like 35, 37, and very successful. And he's got an amazing story. They're immigrants as well, and started from, you know, cleaning up the units and all that. And anyways, so next time will be big. And then beginning of August, I haven't created the event yet, but I will. I already have someone as well. He's a commercial broker. Well, not broker. He does commercial lending for a large Canadian bank. And I know he's going to be very good because I've been dealing with him, even though I'm not going to do my refi with him. Anyways, so I hope to see you then. And I'm always open to feedback, questions. Feel free to reach out. My phone number, I will give it again, is 514-836-5519. Give me a call and I'll be happy to chat. So there you go. Any other comments, last thought?
Had a great time.
All right. Thanks for joining, guys. Thank you very much. And let's go buy properties.
Cool. Cheers.
Ciao, guys.